2022 was one hell of a year, proving that things could get even worse than they were in 2020. But luckily it's over, so we should be grateful and honor the new beginning the proper way, the Balkan way. With that said, today I'm gonna show you how we celebrate the new year in the Balkans, and maybe you could even try some of these to attract some good luck for the new year. Hello everyone and Happy New Year! In case you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Anna and I make videos about random topics related to Central and Eastern Europe because I feel like there's not enough content about it online. So if you're into that, click that subscribe button. Those of you who are already familiar with me probably might have noticed that I finally reached 1000 subscribers. As I promised, I updated my gear, so no more awkward echo in the voiceovers. With that said, I wanna thank you for being around in 2022 and leaving me all those nice comments and DMs. I'm really glad to have subscribers from all around the world because you are all very cool people and I always enjoy learning new random stuff from you about your countries and your cultures. But enough chit chat, let's not get too emotional and let's dissect this topic. New Year's Eve became a significant celebration in post-communist countries. Under the dictatorial regime, all religious events, including Christmas Day, were swept under the rug. For this reason, New Year's Eve as a non-religious festive day became a compensation for the missing Christmas. From prosperous dinners to dancing goats, bear costumes, fireworks, and all kinds of weird superstitions, we have many interesting ways of sending off the old year and celebrating the new one. So I would like to start with some interesting ones from my own country, Romania. But Romania isn't a Balkan country. Well, I am aware that Romania is a huge country and historically speaking the northwest, meaning Transylvania, Banat, Crișana and Maramureș, have closer ties with Central Europe, while the northeast regions, including Moldova and Bukovina, have closer ties with Eastern Europe, and technically only northern Dobruja is part of the Balkan Peninsula. But because the southern regions of Romania, known as Oltenia and Muntenia, and of course Dobruja, always had close cultural ties with the Balkans, and this channel is mainly focusing on cultural topics, I think it's fair to consider Romania as a Balkan country in this context. Plus, we are a conservative, corrupt, orthodox country riddled with ethnic conflicts and religious debates, and our crime and poverty rates don't look that nice. Yet, we still have a rich culture, interesting history, many important cultural landmarks, beautiful mountains and coastlines. Where else do you think we belong? And yes, I'm aware that some of the countries on this list have closer ties to Central Europe, to the southwest or to the east, but there are some major similarities between our traditions, beliefs, mentality and history which link us together and form this beautiful thing known as Balkan culture.
All Europe is today a big Balkan with Brussels bureaucracy as a new Istanbul.
So yeah, let's look at some random Romanian New Year traditions. If you've been around this channel, you're probably already familiar with Capra, aka the goat dance. On New Year's Eve in the rural parts of Romania, a few men put on a goat costume, which consists of a wooden goat and colorful rocks or sheepskin coats, and they go around the village to perform a dance at each house. According to some sources, this tradition has pagan origins from the times when goats were believed to have the ability to predict the weather. But it also represents a scapegoat, which is supposed to take away your sins from the previous year and help you start the new one with a clean slate. There's also Jocul Urșilor, a New Year's ritual, when people dress up as bears, accompanied by flute players and drummers and sometimes masked people impersonating various characters, and together they go around villages and towns to wish people a happy new year. According to ethnographers, this tradition dates back to the Middle Ages, and in the past it was performed with actual living bears, but obviously that was banned for safety reasons. This custom is mostly performed in the historical region of Moldova Moldova, but you can sometimes see it in the other parts of the country too. For example, a couple of years ago, the streets of Cluj were filled with musicians, carolers, and beggars dressed as bears for the entirety of December. And of course, there's the Plugușorul, when youngsters go around with a plow reciting a poem known as Plugușorul on New Year's Eve to wish a good year to everyone. This tradition dates back hundreds of years and it is performed in almost every region of the country. Another iconic custom is the Sorkova. On New Year's Day, kids are supposed to walk around the village, carry a branch decorated with colorful ribbons and flowers, and say a poem known as Sorkova Vesela. This branch represents a magic wand, and the poem is a magic spell which supposedly brings good luck, health, and prosperity and keeps the hosts of the house youthful and happy. Now, interestingly enough, our Bulgarian brethren have a very similar tradition. Surcavane is a tradition similar to the Romanian Sorkova, performed with a decorated stick known as a survaknica or survachka on New Year's Day as a measure for health during the year. This custom has pagan roots and it dates back to ancient times, although ethnographers couldn't determine exactly when, where, or by whom it was practiced first, and this is still a matter of debate. According to this ritual, a member of the family, typically the youngest, lightly pats the back of the others with a survaknica on the morning of New Year's Day, and by doing this, they recite a short poem of good wishes for the new year. Afterwards, these children are awarded with snacks, candy, or small amounts of money. The survaknica or survachka is a curled branch of a cornel tree, often decorated with coins, snacks, ribbons, and threads, which varies in different regions of Bulgaria. Now, if you watched my past videos, you're probably already familiar with the Bulgarian Kukuri Festival, which is a centuries-old tradition intended to chase away evil spirits. During this celebration, men and boys dressed up in furs and animal skins put on scary masks and jump with huge bells tied to their waists, and it is believed that the Kukuri monsters are so ugly that any real monster would run away from them screaming. Although in different regions of Bulgaria this is celebrated on different dates between Christmas and spring, in the small villages around Bangsho or Razlog, people celebrate the Kukuri festival on the 1st of January. Now, this tradition has ancient Thracian origins and similar customs exist in almost every Balkan country at different times of the year, mostly in spring. Another interesting Bulgarian tradition is the fortune-telling vanica. Vanica is a layered pastry made of eggs, plain yogurt, and cheese baked in the oven, and it is mostly made in Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and southeastern Serbia. On New Year's Eve, they put lucky charms such as a coin or small symbolic objects, or even happy wishes on small pieces of paper to wish people happiness, health, and success throughout the new year, which is kind of similar to a fortune cookie. But Bulgarians aren't the only ones cooking charms into their pastries. In several regions of Greece, on the first day of January, which isn't only New Year's Day but also the feast of the Greek Orthodox Saint Basil, people bake a cake known as vasilopita with a coin in it. At midnight, they etch the sign of the cross with a knife across the cake and they give a slice to each family member, usually from the youngest to the oldest. Sometimes they even cut slices for various symbolic people or groups depending on the local or family tradition, most commonly one for Jesus, one for Saint Basil and other saints, or even the poor and the household itself. In the past, they used valuable coins, but nowadays there is often a pre-arranged gift or money which will be given to the person who receives the slice with the coin in it. Historians and ethnographers say that this tradition is connected to the ancient Greek Croatia, which involved selecting the symbolic king by lot, or Saturnalia, the ancient festival and holiday in honor of the god Saturn. Others, however, say that it's related to the legend of Saint Basil, who called on the Roman citizens of Caesarea to raise a ransom payment to stop the siege of the city. When the ransom was raised, the enemy was so embarrassed by the act of collective giving that he called off the siege without collecting payment. Basil was then tasked with returning the unpaid ransom, but had no way to know which item belonged to which family, so he baked all the jewelry into loaves of bread and distributed the loaves to the city, and by miracle each citizen received their exact share. Another Greek custom I'd like to highlight is the recently revived momogeroi. The momogeroi heroic ritual is a satirical representation of the New Year's arrival, mainly performed by Pontian Greeks. The ritual consists of 3 protagonists and 12 dancers dressed in various costumes, such as an elderly man who represents the year about to pass, a bride who represents nature and its rebirth, fertility and health, and a man dressed in black who symbolizes the new year. In the ritual, the bride is alternatively kidnapped by the new year and the old year, both accompanied by dancers who represent their troops. And when the 2 groups meet, they pretend to have a war. This ancient tradition is related to the Greek god Dionysus. It mostly took place in Macedonia and northern Greece, and it was revived in 2022. Croatia has a handful of interesting New Year customs and superstitions. Many Croatians believe that whatever you do on New Year's Eve is exactly what you'll be doing for the entire year. And superstitious Croatian women also believe that wearing red underwear on the New Year's Eve will bring them a prosperous love life in the upcoming year. Now, if both of these things actually work, I'm gonna have one hell of a year. But jokes aside, in some regions of Croatia, people have a tradition of washing their faces with cold, clean water that has an apple and a coin in it. This is supposed to bring good luck, health and wealth for the new year. But an even more interesting tradition comes from the good people of Split, who play pizzigin in the shallow waters of Pačvice beach, no matter how cold it is. In case you're not familiar with pizzigin, well, this is a ball game played in the shallow water with around 5 players, where you just have to pass around a small ball, which is the size of a squash ball, hitting it with your palm. Although this is a summer game, they organize a special round during New Year's Eve, when the water is usually around 10 Celsius degrees. Now, people believe that the cold seawater is good for the body's health, so that's a good reason to end the year by playing this game. And lastly, in some regions of Croatia, people believe that the gender of the first person they see in the new year will determine the kind of luck they will have all throughout the year. So they will avoid women at the beginning because we are apparently bringing misfortune to people. But Croatians aren't the only Balkan people with this weird belief. In Slovenia, it is considered as a great misfortune to meet any woman first on New Year's Day, and particularly bad luck to meet an old woman. In general, according to popular superstition, an old woman brings misfortune, particularly on New Year's Day, which makes it very difficult for me not to make any jokes about certain stereotypes. But this isn't the only custom Croats and Slovenes have in common. In nearly all parts of Slovenia, people used to believe that unmarried girls can find a husband on New Year's Day if they throw some money or a red apple into the water before the sun set. In the Styria region, girls used to go and fetch water from the stream early on New Year's Day, and they took an apple with them to throw it into the water, reciting a small poem for luck. Then they brought the water home, where everybody could throw money into it. After that, everyone washed their faces with that water, believing or at least hoping that it would bring them good luck, wealth and prosperity. And of course, Slovenia also has a past in molybdomancy, which was an interesting custom preserved in Tržič up to the beginning of the 20th century as a way of predicting the future by pouring molten lead into water and believing that its shape will predict what will happen in the next year. On the last day of New Year, they used to make prophecies about health, fortune, love and friendship. If the solidified lead displayed the shape of a cat, that meant hypocrisy, a spider would bring misfortune, and so on. And this tradition existed in multiple Balkan countries, such as in Bulgaria and Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. Serbia is well known for their extreme traditions and its people being a little bit too extra, so I simply cannot leave them out of this list. If you love celebrating Christmas and New Year, Serbia might be a very good place for you, because in Serbia they celebrate both Christmas and New Year twice. The reason behind this is because Serbs use 2 calendars, the Georgian or Catholic, which is mainly used by the state, and the Julian or Orthodox one, which is used mainly by the church. There's a 13-day difference between the 2 calendars, so Orthodox or Serbian New Year's Eve is technically on the 13th of January. Interestingly enough, although most Serbs celebrate Christmas according to the old calendar, most of them celebrate New Year's Eve according to the new calendar. But just because the state New Year is more popular, that doesn't mean that the old New Year isn't celebrated. It's just more modest celebration. Actually, the time period between Orthodox Christmas and Orthodox Epiphany is called the 12 days of Christmas, and the old New Year's Day is often referred referred to as Mali Božić, which means Little Christmas. On the day of Mali Božić, people who believe in scapulomancy, which is a form of divination with the use of bones, try to foretell events concerning the family in the ensuing year. In the past, on New Year's Day, the snout of a pig was used in love magic as well, since people believed that if a girl looked at a boy through the snout, he would fall crazy in love with her. In southeastern Serbia, on the day before Little Christmas, a group of unmarried young men called sirovari would go to the village and chase away the demons, yelling Sirovo, Burovo,
Sirovo, Borovo!
Accompanied by the noise of bells, ratchets, and horseshoes strung on a rope. Villagers were glad to receive them in their homes and treated them with foods and drinks. But Serbs aren't the only ones who celebrate the Old New Year. The Old New Year in North Macedonia is known as Stara Nova Godina or as Vasilica, after Saint Basil. In some regions of the country, mainly in the rural area, on the 13th of January, people gather outside their houses in the center of their neighborhoods, where they start a huge bonfire to bid farewell to the old year with a feast and some drinks. They also sing some folk songs and perform some traditional dances. In the village of Vevčani, they even host a carnival where people dress up in scary costumes to banish the bad spirits of the past year. This is actually one of the oldest cultural events in North Macedonia, and it has been celebrated for over 1,400 years. The costumes are made with a satirical purpose, referencing pop culture and mocking current-day political events. Similarly to the Greek Vasilopita, Macedonians hide a coin in zelnitsk, which is a pastry pie filled with feta cheese and a variety of other fillings. Traditionally, the first piece is cut for Christ and the second one for the Virgin Mary, and whoever cuts through the zelnitsk must make sure that there are enough pieces for everyone who's present. Now, oftentimes pieces are also set aside for family members who are away or even for their beloved pets. Pieces are distributed in age order, either from old to young or vice versa, depending on the family tradition. And whoever finds the coin in their styles is expected to enjoy good luck for the remainder of the year. The Balkans are an underrated region with many interesting customs and cultural practices. Though we are mostly known for our political issues, historical conflicts, and our not so bright living conditions, this place is insanely magical and we know how to celebrate the big events in our lives, whether it's a birthday, wedding, or the passing of another year. With that said, I hope that showing you some of our New Year traditions help you take a glimpse at the nature of our culture and see the value behind its quirkiness. But enough about that. What kinds of New Year traditions exist in your countries? Tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe, or the copperdick owl will greet you. Thanks for tuning in and have a wonderful New Year.
Katarina, dobra žena bila, ta je mene bilu odgojila.